Greetings, and welcome back to the MCOC Encyclopedia. Thing. The big science tank. The Rock. The defender that seemingly just decides to go unstoppable or just turn off all your damage. In this video, we will be breaking down Thing's primary defensive abilities and the best ways to get around them. Thing's main mechanic is his rock stacks, and he gains 1 every time he is hit or blocks a hit. If he parries an attack, he gains an additional 4. The rock stacks cap out at 20. At 15 or below, they last indefinitely, but from 16 to 20, they only last for 5 seconds. Each rock stack provides Thing additional physical and energy resistance, meaning he will take less damage at higher stacks. So what's this got to do with anything? Well, when Thing is hit directly, so not into the block, when he has 15 or more rock stacks, he doesn't generate any from that hit, he loses 3, and this is where he goes unstoppable for 5 seconds. So what we need to do is to keep the rock stacks down, or somehow deal with the unstoppable when it arrives. There are 3 main ways of playing around Thing, but I will give a special mention at the end. The first way is to play around the rock stacks, keeping them down and controlling them where we can. The second way is to simply prevent them from ever triggering in the first place. And then finally is to use a slow champion to deal with the unstoppable when it does arrive. So, how do we play around the rock stacks? Well, the secret to fighting Thing well is to keep an eye on these stacks and to keep them as low as possible. The best way to do this is to remove them all at once. If Thing throws a special attack when he is at 15 or more rock stacks, they are all instantly removed and his special attack will go unblockable. Luckily for us, Thing's specials are fairly easy to avoid, so the unblockability here usually isn't an issue. However, timing a special attack when he has the right number of rock stacks can be. You can't hit him to push him above 15, and so he needs to be at exactly 15 for this to work. 1 extra hit and he'll go unstoppable and combo you, but 1 hit too few and then he'll throw his special at only 14 rock stacks, meaning he will keep them all, and now he has very low power. If you find yourself in this situation, you only really have 2 options. Either hit his block until he has enough power to throw a special attack, or push him to 16 rock stacks and deal with the unstoppable when it arrives. When unstoppable, he is still stunnable, so use this to your advantage to try and wait out the unstoppable. Finally, whenever Thing is bled, he will lose 3 rock stacks, but this does have a cooldown of about 2 seconds. You can see here that I'm using Apocalypse, who normally places a bleed on each hit of his heavy, and Thing only loses 1 set of 3 rock stacks. A timer does appear so you can see how long you have before you can remove rock stacks this way. The tricky part about this method is knowing exactly how many hits your champions have, particularly in their special attacks. Most champions have a 5-hit combo, so that's not too difficult to count, but some champions have 6 or even 7-hit combos, or 13 in the case of Quicksilver. But then, how many hits are on my special attack? My special 1, my special 2? Does my special 3 count as just 1 hit, or lots of hits? It counts as 1 hit. So let's just go down the road of not letting him gain rock stacks to begin with. The best way to do this is with ability accuracy reduction. If you can lower the chance of Thing doing something, like gaining rock stacks, then you can stop him from doing it at all. In my opinion, the best option for this is Falcon, though I know some will argue that it's Crossbones. They are both excellent options here. The main reason why they are both so good is that they can reduce ability accuracy on Thing to or below 0. So no stacks appear when he has no chance to do anything. When Falcon is locked on, he can reduce his opponent's ability accuracy by 100%, and as you can see here, Thing never gains a stack. No stacks means no unstoppables. Crossbones functions in a similar manner, but he reduces ability accuracy by 25% for each Fury he gains. So maintain 4 Furies, and you're all good. So what to do if you don't have one of these two champions and are still getting caught out by the Unstoppable? Well, any champion with a slow debuff can be great against Thing. While he has an Unstoppable active, you can completely ignore it if you have a slow active on them at the same time. Some of the best options here are She-Hulk, Spider-Gwen and Hawkeye. They all trigger slow on their heavy attack, and so it's very easy to apply and maintain. Shang-Chi and Stealth Suit Spider-Man are also other really good options, though they are a little more complicated. Now time for my special mention, and for this one it's Valkyrie. She does need to be awakened and preferably as high sig as possible, but if you can stack up her pierce buffs, she can completely ignore Unstoppable. It's a unique mechanic to her. It's not slow, it's not removing the Unstoppable, she can simply hit champions as if they weren't. This works against every Unstoppable in the game and is absolutely brilliant against Thing. Some of you may have noticed that I haven't mentioned any Mystics so far as a way of dealing with Thing's Unstoppables, as well as Captain America Infinity War, as he can remove Unstoppables when he is kinetically charged, and this leads us nicely into Thing's immunities. Thing has an impressive list of immunities, covering Bleed, Shock, Armor Break, Armor Shattered, Nullify, Stagger, and Fate Seals. This means we can't use any of these as a way to remove the Unstoppables. No staggering it, no nullifying it. And unfortunately, this does apply to Captain America Infinity War as well, as his removal is treated by the game as a nullify, so it doesn't work against Thing. An interesting note, however, is Thing was released a long time before the neutralize mechanic was added to the game, and he does not have immunity to that. This means that Tigra, Rintrah and Wiccan can all stop him from going unstoppable as long as you can maintain your neutralize on him. So that is Thing's major annoyance. His second, and shorter issue, comes from his signature ability. This will trigger a protection passive that will reduce the amount of damage Thing will take from any source. There are 3 different ways you can activate it, 2 of which have a shared cooldown, as in if you trigger one, the other one cannot trigger until the cooldown has gone down for both of them. These 2 ways are if Thing is stunned, or if he charges a heavy attack. This protection lasts 5 seconds with a 20-second cooldown. The final way is if Thing takes a large amount of damage in a single hit, and this is the one that can ignore the cooldown, meaning it can trigger on every single hit. This ability does scale very well if you're using Thing offensively, but it means on defense that even a mid-sig Thing can ignore a large amount of incoming damage when the protection is active. So, how do we get around this? Well, the simple and not very satisfying answer is simply not to hit him too hard. When I say don't hit him too hard, what I more accurately mean is don't increase your attack rating by too much. Let's have a look at Doctor Doom and Sunspot. Neither are particularly good Thing counters, but they are a good example pair to use here. Doctor Doom has very high base attack, whereas Sunspot has relatively low base attack. At the start of the fight, neither champion will be activating Thing's protection. Sunspot can increase his attack rating as he gains flare states, which he does during his natural ramp up. When his attack rating has increased by enough, Thing will start triggering protection on Sunspot's critical mediums. Critical multipliers are taken into account when we consider how much we have increased our base attack. It is perfectly possible that at this point, Sunspot's attack rating will still be lower than Doom's. The reason protection is triggering is because Sunspot has increased his attack rating. What it actually is irrelevant. As Sunspot keeps increasing his damage, Thing will start triggering his protection on his critical light attacks. If he can increase his attack enough, then on every medium, protection will trigger, and if you push it far enough, on every light. The protection from stunning him and from Thing charging his heavy attack will still trigger, but this will only be for a small proportion of the fight. A better solution is to go back to our ability accuracy reduction champions. If Thing has no chance to activate anything, from Falcon's Lock-On or Crossbones' Furies, then he can't trigger his protection. And if he does trigger his protection from other sources, the stun or the charge of his heavy attack, you can just ignore it. You can hit him as if it was normal. This is why these two are such good counters for Thing, as they counter both his different forms of annoyance. The second way around protection is to use champions that deal other forms of damage. This could be high damage over time, for example, but Thing is immune to bleed and shock, so there aren't actually many good options here. If really pushed, I would say Havoc's feedback is probably the best option, but still not brilliant. However, Power Sting champions, like Spider-Ham or Scorpion, or champions that can deal other red burst damage, like Tiger, Apocalypse or Gallon, are much better. Protection can still limit this damage, so make sure it's not active when going for your big nuke. So, Thing. Gains rock stacks when you hit him or he blocks one of your hits, and can go unstoppable when you hit him directly at 15 rock stacks or higher. This can be bypassed by baiting specials when he has 15 or more rock stacks, as this removes them all, and you can use bleeds or ability accuracy reduction champs to keep the number of rock stacks down. Slow champions or Valkyrie can be used to bypass his unstoppable. It cannot be staggered or nullified, as Thing is immune to both of these, but neutralize does work. Secondly, Thing gains a protection limiting your damage if you hit him too hard, stun him, or he charges a heavy attack. Use lower damage champions, other forms of damage, or ability accuracy reduction to bypass this. I hope you found this useful, and if you have any questions, please leave them below. I have a long list of champions that I would like to cover. I think it's at nearly 30 now, but do let me know if you want to see one pushed up the list. My current plan is to either cover Sauron or Hulkling next. Thank you, and I will see you next time.